To protect the future, you must forget the past. And that's what RoboCop 3 is saying. It's saying, forget about the first one, forget about the second one, forget about Nancy Allen. Lois! Just move on with your lives.
It's all about ninja samurais.
Because that's the future.
Okay. Wordsmith.
No.
There's where you were going with that, isn't it? Alright then, shall I kick us off?
Go for it.
Hello everybody and welcome to Ain't No Game, the podcast about games that are films, films that are games, and all the murky stuff in the middle. I am your host, James Powell, and joining me today are series regulars. We have visual effects artist and film editor, Richard Blackburn.
Hello.
And we have film producer, Ben Jacques.
Bonjour.
How are we doing today, boys?
Good, thanks, mate. Yeah.
Have we had a good weekend?
Indeed, yeah. We've had a laugh, come up here into Manchester.
Yeah, good. Playing lots of video games, drinking lots of food.
Drinking lots of food. I mean,
drinking lots of food, eating lots of drink.
No more drink for you today.
Yeah,
we
I
do
think I've
put
had enough.
everything into a blender, mush it all up, and there it is.
The only way to eat is the future. But yeah.
Isn't that how he eats in End of Days, isn't it? He blends a pizza at the beginning, doesn't he?
Something like that.
Yeah. I think, is it End of Days?
Yeah, sure it is.
Yeah, he's like in a really dark kitchen and he's got blended.
Well, he's in a dark place, isn't he?
You
Yeah.
know,
Emotionally.
because, as we all know,
He's not a choir boy anymore.
like a quiet boy.
He gave up his gig as a choir boy and he's now depressed. He's regretting it.
So, full disclosure for you listeners, we're going to be talking about a subject that we know, love, and hold very dear. And we have actually done this before, but due to gremlins in the system, we unfortunately could not salvage what we did 6 months ago. So what we thought we'd do is we'd let that rest, talk about a few other things, and come back to it. So today's topic of choice is RoboCop.
RoboCop.
Beautiful.
That was as orchestral as the end credits of RoboCop 2, gentlemen. Lovely stuff. So before we dive in to Delta City, what have we been watching? What have we been playing? We've already, this weekend we have played a multitude of games.
Yeah.
And
Can't remember most of
Yeah, just far too many to recall. We went to what's it called, Arcade Club in Bury, which is Europe's biggest
collection
of arcade machines.
Okay, so shout out to Arcade Club UK.
Yeah, and it's great fun. Yeah, they have everything from super old retro to basically the most up to date
VR stuff.
Yeah, VR Japanese sort of rhythm games, which seems to be the I think the newest sort of arcades that are coming out of Japan are almost all some kind of rhythm based, whether it be like there was one that I think you and me both had to go on, which was like 5 of these like miniature discs that you could tap or spin depending on
kind of like a DJ
thing, but it had nothing to do with like DJing. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's just hitting like random discs.
That you could
5 set of discs that
Mm.
you can spin and hit and in the
Jesus,
rhythm.
yeah, there was
no idea what it was called.
No, I mean it's all in Japanese, so unfortunately not even the slightest clue. But there was some great stuff in there, some really random stuff in there, and we all had to go on Beat Saber, which is great fun on VR. And yeah, you name it, Mario Kart and
Time Crisis,
Guitar
Hero,
all the classics. So if you're in Manchester, well worth a visit if you like your games. Film wise, what we've been watching, well, we all saw a tremendous film yesterday, which we all missed in the cinema but all wanted to see, and as fortune favoured this weekend, it was playing in our local IMAX up here in Manchester.
One day only.
So, and we were all available, so we all came up and we watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in glorious 3D IMAX, and it was terrific.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I can see why it's won all the awards. It's like absolutely stunning to look at. Great
Story, pacing,
Everything.
editing,
Yeah.
scores,
Script-wise,
funny.
it's funny.
art direction, everything was just
yeah.
on point and amazing.
If only like everything could be that amazing.
Well, it's kind of everything that the is it Lord and Miller they do, like Lego Movie and stuff like that.
Although they didn't direct it, I thought they directed it. But
No, they just produced it and wrote it.
They
I
wrote
think.
it, didn't they?
But I
Phil
think if they've
Lord
got a hand in it, it's like so good. Like even like was it Last Man on Earth, the TV show? It's so funny if you ever watched it.
I've seen it.
It's amazing. But yeah, and Lego Movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They're good movies.
Yeah, very good movies.
They're good, but didn't toe the line at Disney, though, did they? So,
Well, that's it, isn't
Off
it?
you
Like
go.
obviously they.
Well, that's good. I think they can go out on their own. They don't need to be part of the whole Disney thing.
Do you know what? I think it's a shame. I actually watched Solo a few weeks ago, and it was
It's very
totally fine.
very Ron Howard.
But I felt like I'm no better off for seeing it. I didn't learn anything in that film that I didn't already know about that character. And it feels like everything that was cool about him in the original Star Wars films
The ambiguity.
all happened to him in like a weekend.
Yeah.
So,
It's a story that didn't need to be told, like or seen, really, because, like you say, all the details are in the films
and you know how it ends.
the coolness of
it
him,
almost felt
the
like
mystique.
it felt like it was kind of made to justify those dice that were really important in Last Jedi. But they were like a real focus point of that film, that they were really trying to sort of hammer that. Oh, you remember this from Last Jedi? It's important. Luke gave it to Leia at the end before he went out and fought Kylo Ren. But it's like, hang on a minute, didn't he have them with this other chick he was with?
Yeah,
before
exactly.
that? Yeah.
He just gives them to all the chicks then, yeah.
It's just got all
He's
these
got dice in every port.
yeah.
Dice in every spaceport. Yeah, totally fine. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know what could have been if Lord and Miller sort of been kept on and done a lot more improv and kept it a lot more
I know,
jokey and
too
fun.
restrictive, maybe, being
Just
in that big, massive, huge machine of Disney. It can't be too creative. You have to toe the line, and those two guys aren't the ones to do that. I don't think.
like because even like Lego Movie and stuff like that. It's like and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as well. It's like edgy's the wrong word, but they put themselves out there. Do you know what I mean? With regards to the things I like. There's some stuff in Spider-Man which is like for kids would be really scary. Like if you take I remember another editor friend of all of ours, a guy called Tommy Balding, took his little boy Noah to go and see it, and he was obviously like. Tommy was like, "This is amazing," and then his little boy, when he got like halfway through, was like, oh, "Daddy, I'm scared of like some of the stuff that's in there," which is totally fine because there's like so many, especially the Prowler, the one that's his. Well, actually, I'm not going to say that because that's spoilers. But moving on.
Moving swiftly on. Anything else we've been watching recently, chaps?
Watch all of Russian Doll on Netflix.
Yeah, I watched that too.
Yeah, which
Interesting.
is great.
I've started it.
Love the kind of subgenre of sci-fi that is the day that repeats itself, which is Edge of Tomorrow and Groundhog Day and this.
And I was saying Happy Death Day is
Happy Death
worth
Day, which I
watching as
need
well.
to see desperately because same reason. I just like I really like the concept of doing things over and trying to figure out how to get past things. I don't know, I just like that idea. Maybe that's why. To a certain
Playing computer games.
You play computer games. Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Stuntman, but I get PTSD.
Yeah, but
Playing Stuntman all the time.
Stuntman was so. I mean, that's a fucking frustrating game. It's like first, don't call it Stuntman because it's like you imagine if I like making movies like, okay, mate, here's your stunt here. What are you talking about? Like, first of all, you haven't shown me what I have to do. You have to.
I remember you
halfway.
calling that out when you first got it. It's like, what mug of a filmmaker is doing all this in one take?
Yeah, not only
At least show me a map.
At least show me what I'm supposed to do. Like fucking hell, that game. Like, yeah, there's two massive fucking problems with that. Exactly what you're saying. Yeah, you don't even get like imagine just like, hello mate, good to meet you. Oh yeah, I'm your stunt driver today. Cool. Yeah, look, I'll be honest. We said we got a stunt today, and I was a bit. Well, I'm not going to tell you what it is. And you're like, all right, as long as it's not too complicated. It's really complicated. Everything you see out there. Well, you got to do some sort of stunt with
Drive through.
Well, can I have a look before I do it? No, you got to do it, and I'm going to tell you as you go.
Camera's rolling. Time is money.
Time is money. But, that's false economy. What was if I fuck it up? Don't worry. Just carry on. Do it again. Fuck that game.
How about you, Rich? Any
just like Netflixy stuff, and yeah. Watch films on there like Polar and stuff, which
that was
is
fucking
absolutely
awful.
Yeah, I saw Velvet Buzzsaw. I was not a fan.
Yeah, Netflix needs to carry on making really grade A, amazing TV series, and just needs to stop anything to do with making feature films.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. I find the Netflix films that I really.
Apart from my boy.
But no, I admire them taking punts on stuff that wouldn't necessarily always sort of get out of the office or get out of a pitch meeting, and
like Roma.
I like that. However,
yeah, but that's not
it's like who are you making the film for? If you're making it for an audience and some stuff is so closed off to a vast audience, surely that's false economy.
The funny thing is,
but I suppose they've got the money to invest. So
like Roma's a great example of that movie was made before Netflix got involved. It's like they found out that.
Well, same as like Annihilation, wasn't it?
Well, that was in the cinema, and then they pulled it because it wasn't doing the numbers they wanted. Then Netflix bought it up for the, for the rest of the world, and that's how it got shown to the majority of people. So quite often they end up, buying up other films, and anything they do that's original is from the get go is almost.
It was like Game Over Man and stuff like that.
Oh, I've not seen
that. Yeah. The Workaholic guys. It's like so bad. It's trying to be like Die Hard and all that sort of stuff, but it just fails being anything good.
I saw that. It was in
The Three Guys.
Yeah, the three. They're sort of stoner.
Yeah, but they're from a TV show
boys.
called Workaholics, which is actually really good. But I don't know, on the movie it just didn't work. Wasn't funny, jokes and stuff. But the TV series I highly recommend because that's really funny.
Yeah, I saw one of the. Is it Adam Levine? Yeah, he was in. He's in
loads of stuff.
He was in that Netflix film, which is a bit, repeating the same day, where he has to keep going back to meet the girl he's in love with to try and sort of woo her. Cause she's like, they become like, he gets like friend zoned or something.
Like How We Met or something like that.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
I'll check it out.
But he's in all the Netflix stuff. He's in that new one with Rebel. What's his name? Wilson.
Rebel Wilson.
Where she.
Adam Levine, the guy from Maroon 5.
Yeah.
Did I say that the wrong name?
No, that's his name is something like that. Adam Levine.
I'm sure that's the guy from Maroon 5, isn't it?
It probably is.
Yeah, Adam Levine's the guy from Maroon 5. Who the fuck
Who am I talking about?
No, his name is like Adam. Like, look at
Right,
Workaholics.
Not Adam Lambert. No, that's the fucking guy from.
That's Queen.
That's Queen.
So, it's Workaholics, yeah?
Yeah.
Workaholics cast. Adam Devine.
We're one letter out. Come on.
You guys are wrong. Adam Levine was like, as I was saying, it's like, I didn't realise he did so much film work.
That's why he's so popular.
Adam Devine. Adam Levine.
Right then, should we take a bite out of Officer Alex Murphy?
Yeah, take a hand. Give the man a hand.
Give the man a hand. So we are going to be talking about RoboCop. So as with this podcast, what we do is we talk about the original product before we talk about all the spin-off stuff, spin-off media. So this was a film first. Boys, when did we first hear or see RoboCop?
Well, for me, obviously, this is like my favourite film of all time. So
you would have no idea if you went and went into your garage and saw, into your downstairs.
You'd have
I have a lot of RoboCop posters and stuff and all that stuff. But But for me, I think it's watching it on TV way too early TV cut on ITV in the
Yes,
90s.
the
at some
famous ITV cut, which I often say it was on at 6 p.m. and so I mean it wasn't. It must have been on at about 9, but it is laughably edited.
Yeah.
Like some absolute crackers in there. I even once called him Airhead.
Yeah, so all the profanity, even like the mild profanity,
like
has
arsehole is
been.
now Airhead, and the
Most
guy.
of the violence and stuff.
Yeah, all the. So like you don't know what happens to Emil. Like he
the toxic zombie.
He crashes into the thing, and then all of the other stuff is cut out. And then what's his name, Kurtwood Smith, fucking Boddicker, he's just driving along and then just crashes like no reason. Oh my god, it's so stupid.
Yeah, but I think someone recorded it off the TV and then I watched it. And just I remember just maybe falling in love with it and just thought it was so cool. Like, just the whole thing, like, it's a RoboCop. It's like, it's a silly name, but it's like a fantastic premise, I think. Especially at that sort of time when you're that age.
Yeah, I think we all, it's almost like we grew up in a bit of an era where those sort of things were okay, like with regards to like all of the cartoons we used to watch, like
there's nothing really much like
Mask and G.I. Joe and like Thundercats. It's like if you watch those now, they're like pretty violent, like people attacking each other with swords and guns. It's like it doesn't feel like you have anything like it's like it's just fucking Paw Patrol, and like it's all just super soft, and it's like we grew up like
soft, like non-offensive.
Yeah, and we wanted to all battle, grab sticks and like go and
you're watching wrestling and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
And
like obviously it's PG are in wrestling now as well. It's all been like super dumbed down. So it's like I think when we were exposed to films like say RoboCop, or for me like I saw Aliens far too early on, it's like you end up kind of, I don't know, I don't necessarily think it affects you in the same way. You almost have an affiliation with it, You're like, wow, I'm not allowed to be seeing this, but this is amazing, and but it hasn't made us too crazy.
Yeah.
But I think for RoboCop it's a little bit different to say Aliens, because RoboCop is like you have this figure who looks cool, is like this hero beating the bad guys. It's not like Aliens where that's kind of just like chaos and it's just chaos and killing, everyone dying, and
of course.
It's horror-esque. Where this is like proper pure action movie. Like music and like getting you going is like proper hero.
It's very comic.
I do agree, sure. But to counter argue that, like I would say the best hero in all filmmaking is Ripley. Like the bit where she as a person.
But I think like this
is like
just it's more comic booky than Ripley. Ripley is like
real. Yeah,
is a real person where this is like over the top comic booky. Real life comic book at that time,
it's like a live action cartoon for adults.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, in our case, adolescents.
Yeah,
but then the uncut version is even more of that, because the violence is so over the top. You understand the satirical side of
nature of it,
the comedy, all the little bits of it, and understand the story, and it's a neatly wrapped story where everyone arc comes to an end and is neatly tied up in a package,
and then they just skullfuck it with all the sequels.
So I saw the uncut version when I was 11. It was way too young. I shouldn't have seen it. I kind of bamboozled my mum into me going to watch it. So a friend had it on video, like taped off TV or something. Like I guess Sky used to show it uncut, and it was just like one afternoon after school. I was like walking home. My mum was walking a bit ahead with my brother and sister, and one of the boys said, "Do you want to come watch RoboCop?" And I was like, "Yeah, Mum, I'm just going to watch RoboCop. Yeah, bye," like that, and just went and did it. And it was only like when I got home.
What was that sound? It was like bye.
It was only when I got home that my parents were like, "So did you just watch RoboCop?" Like, yeah, and they were not happy. That
I like to think that they opened the door and you were like shaking.
Well, but that's the thing. I mean, you don't. It was
the things I've seen.
But as a kid, you don't you don't necessarily pick up on the whole satirical aspect. You just kind of watch it and you're kind of going, oh gross,
my God.
it's gross and cool,
Yeah.
and stuff. And you watch it now and you realise it is ridiculous. But back then it was just more of like, it's it's gross. I haven't seen this in a PG film.
Because it's not horror. It's like there's a big difference between if you see.
I mean, that's
horror
it.
when you're
I'd
a kid,
seen
and because you're I guess still scared of all the unknowns and stuff. RoboCop isn't an unknown. It's like it's fun and stupid because
In your face.
people are getting
Yeah.
blown up. So it's like I've never found that sort of stuff to be.
I don't remember like picking up on any of the language when I was that age or anything, so I wasn't running around swearing and.
Yeah.
Doing
Well, RoboCop
anything
is not
like
that much swearing, I don't think. Apart from like obviously the convenience store in the uncut
Why me?
version.
Yeah. Why me? Why me? That's what you're talking about, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember it being like that whole. It's cool. And I'd seen like Judge Dredd comic books, which had
Yeah, me too.
Well, that's-
particularly
2000 AD,
gory
yeah.
bits in.
Well, 2000 AD was the comic I grew up with,
Yeah.
in that respect, and
And this was
I think
that brought to life.
yeah,
Yeah, I
and
mean
that was-
he's very Judge Dredd, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and 2000 AD it's quite a UK centric comic book from what I
It is
remember. It's
British,
like, it's like
yeah.
yeah, of course, and it's funny because I guess in the same respect that I read that and it didn't shock me. I guess movies like that didn't either. You
No.
know, so
No, but then I remember a few years later, then ITV famously hyped up that they had it and they were going to show it. It was like the UK network premiere, and yeah, it was absolutely butchered. And I remember sitting there watching it, and it got to sort of the big bit in the industrial park at the end, and I was like, oh, there's a bit where he starts melting and stuff, and it was completely gone, and it was like it had that effect where it's like, have I like sort of my sort of imagination run away with me, and I've sort of inserted cool bits into films that don't exist. So for a few years, the Ninja Turtle film, I'd seen that at a birthday party. Someone had like a pirate copy of it on video, and after the party, the parents said, "Oh, kids, you can watch the Turtles film." And I'd seen that. And there's a whole bit at the end where Shredder fights the Turtles, and then Splinter shows up, and he's got the vendetta against him because he's scarred his face. And there was a whole bit where he's hanging off the edge of the building, and Splinter pulls the knife on Splinter, and then he drops him. And then when I saw that and had seen it like on TV since, that whole bit gone, it looks like Shredder just runs and he moves out the way and he runs straight off the building. So for a few years I was like, did I make a whole bit up where he pulls the knife on Splinter who tries to save? And then when the uncut DVD came out, because a lot of the violence was trimmed down because of like nunchucks, famously an awful weapon here in the UK.
Was her name Mary Whitehouse? Was the woman who...
I'm not sure if she was necessarily behind the nunchucks, but yeah, she used to complain about how everything was terrible for children. And there was like a whole point where the word ninja wasn't allowed. Yeah. So there were hero turtles in here in the UK. Because I'm pretty sure the government thought ninja meant assassin, and they didn't want assassin reptiles on UK television.
teenage ones.
Nonsense.
I mean, that should have been its name in the UK.
But the swords, the knives, and a
sides.
large stick were absolutely fine.
Is this the
A man
hypocrisy?
covered in razor blades is fine, but the party dude with some sticks on strings,
No.
get that off my television
Well,
now.
they did the
How
same.
dare
Too
you?
exotic.
Bringing it back to video games, they did the same with Soul Edge or Soul Calibur, the very first one. They had, I want to say, like Nishimitsu or something like that. It wasn't, because that's the guy from Tekken. But like, there's a fella.
Yoshimitsu.
Yeah, but the guy in Soul Calibur,
That's
the
the
first
second
one.
guy. Yeah.
Soul Blade, that's the one. He had nunchucks as his weapon.
Yeah.
And all they did, they're still, because they obviously couldn't change the animations, because obviously he'd using them like Bruce Lee would use them, right? So all they did is like get rid of the chains and connect them all. So it's 3 sections rather than 2 handles with chains. It's a section with another section. So it's like 3 bits.
It's 3 sticks, essentially.
3 sticks combined. I'm like, that's the same fucking thing. Like, what is? I'll have to show you later. It's definitely a thing.
It's ridiculous. But, tangents aside, that was RoboCop 1. That's what we saw. So yeah, we all.
Well, I didn't see RoboCop 1 first. I saw
right. Well, we can talk about the sequels before we get to the spin-off media. RoboCop 2. So that's
the first one I saw. I think I
you have a bit of a habit of watching.
Yeah. I mean,
I said
earlier that I saw Aliens. I saw fucking Alien 3 first. And I'm like, well, I can't.
And in a previous podcast, you told us how you watched Die Hard 2 before you watched Die Hard 1.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, I suppose when you're younger as well, you don't watch. The things you consume are completely different to how people consume them nowadays. You do it when you can, like when you have the opportunity arises. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't think any parent would knowingly let their kids watch 18s or play violent video games or that sort of stuff. Like, not until they were old enough on paper.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to like beg and steal and borrow and just do everything to try and convince them because it's a little bit naughty and you love doing it and it's like, it's okay, it's not going to affect me. It's like, you know, and yeah, just those were the movies that, you know, arose as opportunities to watch at the earliest convenience, you know. So same, I watched Terminator 2 before I watched Terminator, you know, and I'd imagine probably you guys.
I probably did.
Yeah, most people probably did that.
I did see the original first, but what was funny is my dad had taped it off. I think BBC had shown it.
Brilliant.
And he taped it for me, and so it was a bit censored anyway. And my parents would always watch films they were a bit iffy of the night before.
Yeah.
Before I could see it. So when I was very young, you know, like they'd like hire out Romancing the Stone, Ghostbusters. They'd watch it the Friday night, and then I'd watch it the Saturday morning if it was suitable. So that was like a treat. And so Dad had taped Terminator 1, and it was, you know, bits like some of the language was censored and some of the more violent bits were a bit trimmed and stuff. But it got to the very end where she goes, "You're terminated." Press the button. The thing came down. The tape ran out. That's how I thought Terminator ended. And then, of course, the sequel came out, and we hired that a few times from the video shop.
Because we, like I say, we were just in our young teens, right? And it's just like, oh my god, it's amazing. But yeah, RoboCop 2, exactly the same. I somehow managed to convince my mum to buy it, and had it far too young. And I've got.
But was that still an 18? Was that?
It was an 18. No, it was definitely an 18. I'm fucking definitely an 18.
I'd say that's probably got
it's a bit hard. Like the bit where Kane crushes his girlfriend's head is horrific. Like you don't see it, and that's probably why it stuck with me because I remember like they had the lawnmower man face in the thing. Yeah. And he goes and then fucking grabs and like the sound of crushing bones.
The first one.
It's so ridiculous.
Those bunch of boys are sadistic when they kill Murphy at the beginning. I mean, it's supposed to be absolutely horrific,
over the top,
and it, you know, very much establishes these are bad people. But it does feel in RoboCop 2, which I didn't see until I was a bit older because I guess it wasn't available or reasons I didn't see it. But when those bad guys seem more sadistic, but not in like a playful, like funny way, like Boddicker and his boys. They're just
they're a cult.
Nasty.
They're a cult. That's why.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, I remember them when they kill.
Because isn't there a whole bit where the little boy is like has a scalpel on that?
No.
Like, or is it Kane? I can't remember. It's been quite
basically.
Or Kane cuts.
No, you're both wrong. Basically. They capture, I want to say his name's like Piggins or something like that.
Officer Piggins.
It's like Porky or some shit like that. He's a fat shit cop.
It's like Porkins from Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's like,
so it's something
it's like you were having, it's like they arrived on set and you came up with that name.
Yeah, it's something like that. And yeah, basically.
You're fat, you're a cop.
Yeah, Porkins. Or Doyle, you know, something like that. And he gives them up. So, and then, like, because he's working for them, he's addicted to Nuke, which is the drug from RoboCop 2, and it's like, he then gets like knocked out by them, and then like tied up, and he's like, oh, you guys, you really taught me a lesson, I won't do it again. And then Kane is like telling his like doctor guy, he's like, you know, whatever he says to him, like, you know, I can't remember what he says to him, but the doctor guy goes, should the kid leave? And it's like, oh yeah, should the kid leave? It's really funny. So the fat guy's like, and then the the fucking dude, like this guy, just starts scalping in the middle of his chest. It's fucked. And then Kane like turns the kid's head and is like, "You have to watch, kid." Yeah. So like that's way, in a lot of ways, that's way more fucked up than anything Boudica does in the first one. Like Boudica does some fucked up shit, but he's killing cops. Do you know what I mean? Like it's gang warfare, not culty, weird, horrible, nasty shit. You know,
and you guys are all like drug dealers selling this weird drug.
Even what he does to RoboCop in it is more fucked up when they dismantle him. Yeah, that's really
leave him hanging there. Like,
it's awful. Yeah. I think in a lot of ways the second one is actually more like horrific. Like, you know what I mean? Like
more trauma inducing. For a child, anyway.
Yeah. So that was my first. Foray into, I don't know, I'm not going to fucking, even though I have a special little relationship with RoboCop 2. Look, the first one's obviously the better film and is amazing and rightly is people's favourite movie of all time because it's amazing in every way.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It is perfect.
But is it as perfect as RoboCop 3?
Well, you know.
Well, that's the thing. The first one is missing jetpacks
and ninjas,
samurai
ninja twins.
Can't
robots.
say ninja in the UK.
Samurai
heroes.
Samurai hero twins. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, if we have to speak about
I remember hiring this one from the video shop because I think it was one I could get away with hiring.
Yeah.
Because it was, 15.
A few years later.
Yes, Universal.
Yeah. It's a lot more family friendly. I mean, it's still, 15, so not really suitable for children, but it's fine, isn't it? There's not a lot of awful, horrible.
Well, no, it's fine
stuff in that respect.
It's fine in the fact that kids can watch it. It's not fine in the fact that it's like a terrible.
From where it came from.
Yeah, and what they've done to the character, and just.
Well, they were just making it more like mainstream for the people because obviously the TV show was coming.
Yeah. And
then that was just done. And I watched
they had the cartoons
show.
and the toys were out as well. So I think there must have been a lot of pressure from the top to make it.
I've never quite understood that like mentality though, because since the beginning of time, like they released, if you had a character of some kind in your film, they'll release a toy of it, even if it's like Dracula or the Wolfman or Frankenstein. They even did like a toy alien from Alien, not Aliens. Alien, the first one, which is like, that is not a kid's film, but here's a fucking toy alien you can play with. So it's like, and I remember we all had like Terminator figures and Terminator 2 figures and like Predator and Aliens, and RoboCop was the same.
We had a RoboCop figure that you could put caps in the back and like flick the thing on his back to make it go bang.
Yeah, so it was already a kid's thing. Like, you don't, because those kids weren't necessarily watching the movies, but they were buying the toys.
But yeah, they would have seen the poster or the video on a shelf or played the video game.
So you don't need to dumb it down, is what I'm saying. It's like,
yeah.
What do you gain from
the spin-off material is enough. Yeah.
Like, in a lot of ways, I actually think if you make it more kiddie, kids won't like it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you try and make something more accessible for children, they're going to steer clear of it, because no kid is like, I'm a big fan.
Because it's not edgy anymore. It's not that naughty thing.
Yeah, you get kudos for.
And plus, the games are like the kids' versions, because obviously, like the first RoboCop game isn't as violent or as graphic as the film.
Yeah, I mean, you're still shooting and punching people.
You start off in the epilogue. Is that right? No, epilogue's before. Prologue. The prologue. Epilogue's after that. Yeah, you start off in the prologue for fucking RoboCop, and you just, but no, like, you're a cop, and like you walk into a room and just get killed. Like, fuck. My eyes.
That would be pretty rough. But yeah, RoboCop 3.
That's it. RoboCop 3. And then obviously.
But I swear, does the end of RoboCop kind of undoes the other ones? Because at the end of the third one, doesn't he he saves Rip Torn or whatever, and he goes, "What's your name, son?" And he goes, "You can call me RoboCop."
Well, I always thought it was not necessarily undoing, like he's become more robotic. I thought it was the whole, well, we're not mates, you can't call
That's
me
what I thought,
Murphy. Like, it's like the whole
my friends call me Murphy.
Die Hard thing.
No,
it's like,
Doesn't he says, my friends call me Murphy, but you can call me RoboCop.
don't know if he says. I don't know.
Straight
I haven't
away.
watched it.
And also, doesn't he? I've got a weird feeling it's like the end.
I'm sure a
of-
nuke goes off as well.
No,
You go with RoboCop.
The samurai hero twins explode.
You can call me bro. It's the end. It just cuts to Terminator 2 and like a wave of destruction. It's like everyone turns to look. "Ah!"
Terminator.
Oh my god.
Because that's how those two universes are connected. Because it's actually on Judgment Day.
Peeking a little bit.
Oh yeah, because of my
Because of your howling
laughter. Fuck, what was I going to say? Oh, so I'm sure RoboCop 3 ends like the Harry Potter where he flies towards the screen and freeze frames. In my brain, like Mandela effect, I'm sure I can see RoboCop flying towards the screen with his jetpack and goes.
I don't think that's it.
And then an iris on his face.
Looney Tunes the shit out of it. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, you watch it really late in fucking whatever in our lives. It's just dog shit. Everything. It's got some nice ideas, like the fact that he can change his arm now to like a machine gun. That's a nice idea.
I think that was always there,
That's
but just
logic,
never needed in that one.
Maybe because he had a fucking
I
sweet.
think in the
brain.
second one, doesn't he do that too? I can't remember.
No.
Just rides Harleys.
This right? I mean, that's a bit stupid. Yeah. I just even hate speaking about the third one because it's just like, it makes Ed 209 as loyal as a puppy. It's not good. That's just not good. Not good.
And then the TV series came,
Yeah.
which was kind of just a run-off from the third one, wasn't it?
Prime directives.
No, there's actual TV series.
Oh yeah, of course.
The Prime directives were just TV movies.
That's right.
But the TV series had like the underground hobos with the kids. The kid from RoboCop 3, wasn't it?
She's in the TV series.
Yeah.
Ah.
Like RoboCop's like part of the resistance or whatever, trying to battle against people.
They're just
They repair him.
just
People
trying to make Delta City. Guys, you can't stop progress. I'm a big advocate for Delta City.
Just make affordable homing for everyone.
In Delta City.
In Delta City. And then it's all good.
It's all fine. I mean, have you seen Detroit?
But then how long was it before the Prime Directives came out?
They came out
'Cause it must have
when
been a
we were at
while.
uni. That's
Yeah,
like-
but before, like after the TV show stopped, to when the Prime Directives came out, because I thought the Prime Directives were kind of like trying to be a reboot thing.
Like a sort of soft reboot.
Yeah, or just keep it.
Jesus,
Keep the.
RoboCop 3 was 93, so like it was a good almost 10 years, I guess. It's like...
And the RoboCop 1, 2, 3 came out like straight after each other. Was it 87, 90, and 93?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's super fast, like turnaround on all those films. Trying to cash in on the money, I guess. But
Yeah.
then the Prime Directives were 2002, was it?
I didn't look at the
You see.
directives.
So was the first film obviously must have been super successful to
I think it
warrant
was. Yeah.
It
the
was
sequels and the
hugely
spin-off.
successful, yeah. And then the second one did good money as well, hence the continuation of it. And it's just look, I mean, it's a franchise I think that a lot of people really, really like. Even, average Joe who doesn't necessarily like big sci-fi or big action, like most people have a soft spot for RoboCop because it's like, it's really, really tight. You know what I mean? There's just no fluff. It's just all really, it's just a good fucking story and really well told. So
And it's a character that you can't let die and just go off into the ether. It's like it has to, I think, still be things made of it. Not like what the remake did, because that's just ruining everything. But like this character is such a cool, iconic character that they need to keep doing stuff. Even if they just keep making computer games, no one's made a decent computer game of it recently.
The problem is, isn't it, that this fits into, like we've mentioned all these movies today, but like RoboCop fits into the same sort of ether as Terminator, as Alien, and the problem is they keep fucking it up now. It's like Terminator is almost unwatchably bad now, like with regards to the new movies. The new Alien movies are all dog shit. And like, in fact, the new Predator. Predator's another example. So basically, Sam Winston has ruined our lives.
It is funny when, and I think we mentioned this on like Die Hard when we talked about that, is that these sort of franchises are now outweighed by how much bad stuff there is. But like those first, say the first 2 RoboCop films outweigh the bad stuff, so it's still very popular. And it's the same with Die Hard. Die Hard is, I'd argue that 2 are very good, but you may say 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
But Terminator is seriously outweighed by how much
Just
bad
2.
stuff there is.
Yeah, although T2 is so fucking good. Like,
That's
That's the thing. That's
Predator. In fact,
Yeah.
Predator's probably the only one really where it's really badly outweighed now, because Predator 1 is really good. Predator 2 is like watchable fluff.
Yeah.
Predators is actually, I suppose they're all a bit just mediocre after Predator. Predator 1 is fucking phenomenal. Everything else is mediocre, and the new one is just dog shit.
But for me, like the more they release, it doesn't diminish my love for the original. Like
No,
It
exactly.
makes it
Kind of makes
stronger.
it,
Yeah, I get it.
makes you defend it more, and I go, oh, it's so good. Like,
So, film is 32 years old. Still stands up, doesn't it?
Absolutely, because it's mainly practical effects.
Yeah.
It's always the same with any of the movies that I think our entire generation love and long for and talk about in that rose tinted sort of misty eyed way. All of those movies stand up because the effects are almost all practical, and they don't age. They don't age. Like The Thing is the one I always go back to because all of those effects are practical, looks incredible, and the perfect example of how not to do it is the reboot of that. In fact, the prequel to that, when they tried to do practical, and then some exec someone went whack CGI over this.
it's cheaper to do CGI.
Well, no, but
That's probably what they said.
But they produced all the
real
all
the
the
company.
models.
What's his name? Woodruff, who does all the alien stuff nowadays as well. Him and his I can't remember the company they're called, like Creature Effects or something like that. Basically, they took over from Stan Winston as the go-to people. You can find, and they cared so much about the practical effects they did for the Thing prequel. They released a behind-the-scenes sneak thing away from, or they couldn't care less once the film had been released, right? They released it on YouTube. You can find it. You just search for The Thing remake practical effects on YouTube, and you can see every single effect in that movie was practical, and then they just covered the practical effects in CGI.
Maybe it looked really shit when they got to edit room and went, it just doesn't work nowadays.
No, but that's the problem. The thing is, if you look at practical effects stand alone, in that space, you're kind of like, it's obviously not real. And it's the mentality. Your brain's almost, I guess, expecting CGI at that point. You just need to trust in the fact that miniatures and practical effects still work. And once it's committed to film, your brain wants to, I guess, see something physical compared to
something tangible.
But in terms of now, you couldn't make a RoboCop film with stop motion animation in it. That probably doesn't make sense, business wise.
But then they're robots.
Yeah.
So you could, but what are you talking about the practicalities of filmmaking, or are you talking about people's
practicality of filmmaking?
Yeah,
because now it probably costs a lot more to do a stop motion thing than it does CGI.
And I don't disagree. But then what you get, you don't like. Do you know what I mean? If they'd have done stop motion at 209.
Yeah, but that depends. Yeah, obviously, it depends how much money you can throw at it, and what artists you're hiring, and what studio you're hiring, and stuff like that.
It's
even stuff like, say, Chappie. The CGI on Chappie looked fucking real. And anything like that, you could make RoboCop look like Chappie, and all the robots and stuff, and because that looked really good. But that's the difference between Oates Studio, the Blomkamp Studio, than whoever made the RoboCop remake.
And because the thing is, certainly, very off subject, I know, but Blomkamp has been doing that specific thing since day dot for him. You know what I mean?
District 9 and stuff. All that stuff looks real, and then it's CG. I'm sure it's mixed with a bit of practical, doing a mixture. So having.
Well, that's the classic one that we all, I think, agree upon, is the fact that the ones that work the best are mixing. And I'm not sitting here saying
it's you
it has
CGI
to
to sort of
even
enhance or
Jurassic
smooth
Park,
over something.
Terminator 2, all of those. Jurassic Park's the perfect example.
Well, the most modern one is Solo. a lot of the stuff was mixed. I think doing a mixture, and I think RoboCop would be the new one I guess was a mixture, but he was solely practical, wasn't he, in the new one? Apart from
I think the bit
but,
where he starts jumping on the.
But that's when it becomes totally unrealistic.
Yeah, never had
and
a
then the physics and simulations and all that.
It was
sort of
like
stuff
remember the
becomes
first Spider-Man film.
Yeah, or
Like
Blade 2. Blade 2's the worst.
Blade 2. Yeah, it's like some
or
of those
Matrix.
move. Yeah, the
Matrix
Matrix
Reloaded,
fight with all the Smiths.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the moment you start making them do
Human things.
stuff that's inhuman.
Yeah, sure.
But
Your
that's
brain
when-
knows and goes. Ugh.
But that's when like the artists or whatever don't do the weight correctly and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
the physics of the character. Especially with RoboCop. 'Cause you know what, he's like, how heavy must he be? Jump all over the place.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's certainly in the original, he had weight to everything he did. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in the remake, he felt like he was made of plastic.
Yeah. He looked like he made of plastic too.
Yeah.
Did look like a Power Ranger.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, RoboCop.
Peter Weller.
Peter
I mean.
Weller. Yeah, like the actors within.
Incredible.
Within the film.
Yeah, I mean, like
sure.
the best man for the job, and almost like, unfortunately for him, became completely defining as a role. And I think we were talking about this just yesterday, right? That he was
Well, he's
struggled to cope with that.
getting a career after that and stuff. But he obviously took it to heart and didn't really want to be associated with it anymore for some reason. Maybe he just hated it and traumatic experience for him, I guess.
Well, yeah, I think when you see a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, the costume was quite like unruly and
Just
hard to
getting
probably
dressed.
hard to.
10 hours to get dressed and then have to film
Yeah.
all day shooting stuff. Like,
Yeah.
can't imagine it's easy for them.
No.
But
No. Ronnie Cox.
Look,
Dick,
so whatchamacallit?
Dick Jones, the man with the longest of all the arms in Detroit.
Paul Verhoeven, obviously, like he likes Ronnie Cox. He's also in Total Recall as well, and he plays a great bad guy.
But do you know what's funny is that, and I didn't know this at the time. So I always, whenever I see Ronnie Cox in something, I associate him with being a villain. But it was like a whole subversion. So like the whole Henry Fonda thing from Once Upon a Time in the West. Ronnie Cox had been in a lot of family-based shows. I mean, he's a good guy in Deliverance, for example. So when he was in this, him being like so mean and horrible must have been like a really cool sort
was
of.
that Bryan Cranston of this era?
Certainly, like a lot of people won't even realise that Bryan Cranston was this comedy actor,
goofy,
like for years,
dad for years,
in Malcolm in the Middle, and then obviously he's now,
Plays bad guys and everything. even in was it TV series Sneaky Pete? Have you ever seen that? He plays like a bad gangster guy, and he's constantly threatening people all the time and stuff like that. But
and then obviously the absolute almost standout scene stealer is Kurtwood Smith as Clarence Boddicker, who is the fucking best.
And I mean a nasty piece of work.
Yeah, got the best lines throughout. I mean, I don't want to start just sitting here reading them off, but there's a lot of good ones.
But the whole movie, we can get into the reasons why it's a good movie. It's just the whole script and the story and the arc of every character is amazing.
Even to Miguel Ferreira, do you know what I mean? Even his character is he was written,
and he's the worst. He's an asshole too. You know what I mean? It's
but doing it for different reasons, and not necessarily
super corporate. Fucks people over straight away, and he's not a nice guy. Because he's still trying to do his own
But he's also
thing.
not a bad guy. Do you know what I mean?
He's not. But he's just. He's
not
one of the bad guys.
It's like the whole
different levels
yuppie.
of bad, isn't it?
It depends what you call it bad. Is it a bad that they made Alex Murphy into RoboCop in the first place?
Absolutely.
That's a bad thing.
Well, that's the thing as well.
Their whole agenda is bad.
If you want to, you could say there's you've got the head bad guy in Ronnie Cox in a sort of way. Even if you want to, the old man is kind of the bad guy.
Because he's still paying
No
Ronnie
one's
Cox
really terribly upset in that first boardroom meeting.
About what's his name?
I mean, it's horrific.
Yeah. I mean, I would quit that company. I don't want to get shot by a 209.
Yeah.
But I think the way the characters progress and stuff, even going from the beginning to the end, the way he falls out. I know he's got comically long arms, but the whole thing about like he is falling from grace. He reached the top, got too greedy, and he's fallen back to earth.
It's like poetry.
It's beautiful.
All that stuff. How RoboCop, even Murphy, finds his soul back, and even what's his face, Lewis finds redemption because she has to find redemption for herself because she let him die and didn't do anything, didn't go in and go stop and start shooting everyone. She just watched.
She was too interested in looking at dudes. Fucking, that's the worst bit of that. And that's the only bit I really dislike. It's so bad for her character.
Especially this strong, independent woman, and then she's got
I've got a gun pointed on you. I have to look at your dick.
From a world where they're in unisex locker rooms. She sees cock penis all the time.
Cock penis. She sees cock penis every morning when she gets up, but she has to stop what she's doing and look at this guy's dick. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. But by the end, she is
no longer interested in dick. Yeah. Just robot dick. Woot woot.
Well, that's a subtext I never picked up.
Well, go seriously, but the fact that she then goes to help RoboCop and realizes Murphy, probably to redeem herself, and then obviously at the end saves him. Yeah. He's about to get killed by Bodica. She blows up Leon in a thing, so she can distract him, so he can go in the neck. And bucket of blood just gets done.
Sayonara, RoboCop. Terrific film. And with terrific films comes terrific spin-off media.
Yeah.
So, RoboCop the games, of which there are a plethora. Boys, what have we played?
RoboCop, the first one. Yesterday we were playing on the arcade, RoboCop arcade, which I did complete while I was there. Yep. Died like 1,000 times, but
yes, the one thing about
credits always helps.
Arcade Club, once you pay, that's it. You're in. Everything's on free play, so awesome. You can finally beat those games that are purely designed just to take your pound coins.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, we played the Terminator 2 game, and not only is it monotonous, this is the sit-down machine gun arcade game, and it is monotonous as shit.
You just hold the button down and then point the gun.
And we both died in the first level alone 12 times. It's like, you're terminated. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's impossible. But yes.
It's war, man. It's war.
But yeah, the
RoboCop game was good. It's just fun. It's not that long, but it's fun to play, actually. Because I never really played it all the way through. Because you died 1,000 times. So it was just... And it wasn't like the proper film. It was like you get into OCP, but then the president, I think, is being captured by just a homeless man, and then you shoot him.
a lot in 80s arcade games. The president was always getting pinched,
always taught. And the design of the arcade game, the way he moves and shoots directionally, and the way the characters pop out of windows is very similar to the only game I've played of RoboCop, which is RoboCop versus Terminator.
That was one I played when I was young at home, because I had that on Amiga, I think so, Amiga 500.
Yeah, and which was great fun. Again, ultra violent. They kept a lot of the nice, violent stuff in there, and great soundtrack, and just I think they used sound bites of the film from my memory. And although I was aware of a lot of other RoboCop games, and RoboCop 3. That was the only other one. RoboCop 3 was on the SNES, and I borrowed that up from a friend of mine. And that was just like a normal sort of action game where you could use all the different things that RoboCop had, so like the jetpack, the machine gun that goes in his arms, rocket launchers. So in a lot of ways, it was very, very different from the the RoboCop 2 game, the RoboCop 1 game, the arcade game, RoboCop vs. Terminator. They were all him walking super slowly with his one gun shooting stuff, whereas this one was a little bit more, branch outable, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But it's like most games though, it's like when they add things that have nothing to do with the movies.
Yeah.
It's like just looking at this RoboCop 2 box. It's like they're in space.
What?
And stuff like that. It's just like I don't think they went into space.
I like how the screenshots are like in a realer film as well. So I had RoboCop on
And
the
it's the same
NES.
size as Ed209.
Yeah.
I had RoboCop on the NES, which I think, and you can correct me on this, Rich, as you completed it yesterday, but I think it is like an arcade conversion. So you start off and you can only punch, and then there's a point where you pull the gun.
Yeah.
I think it's when you first battle Ed209, at the very beginning is when you get your gun and then you pick up different bullets.
But the game has the level where it's the bit from the film, when he sort of first makes his TV appearance and he goes to the city, is it City Hall? And the mayor. The bloke's taken everyone hostage and he punches out the window. So that's in the RoboCop on the NES, that bit. But he's like got someone, and every time the person in front ducks, you've got to like try and shoot him and stuff. And it's also got a bit where you have to like put the face together. So there's that bit
it didn't have any of that.
So in the game, it's got that bit from the film where he's sort of going through the mug shots and assembling the bits of the face.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's in that, and it's like a time-based bit, and it's also got the bit where the bloke's got the woman at knife point, and you've got to
shoot through the legs.
It didn't have any.
You don't shoot through the legs in the game. You got to like shoot him in the shoulder.
The one I played didn't have any set pieces like that.
Okay.
It was just like levels, but in that setting.
Yeah.
So like the one with the guy trying to rape the woman, it was in that sort of setting with the billboard. And all
the
that.
Delta City billboard, yeah.
And you just shooting random thugs.
Yeah.
There wasn't and the boss is always just Ed209.
I mean, they did make multiple Ed209s, I'm sure, in the reality.
So there wasn't like the set piece where you have to save the woman from being raped.
By shooting through the skirt.
So that would be cool, target thing.
Yes, that's what it's got on there. It's got a target, and you've got to sort of line up the crosshair and stuff. It's got like a few little levels like that. RoboCop 2, I played on the NES. A friend round the corner had it, and I borrowed it. I've since bought it for part of my collection, and I had RoboCop vs Terminator on the Mega Drive as well, which keeps all the gore. The SNES version does away with the gore because I think Nintendo had a bit of a stricter policy on like family-friendly entertainment. But yeah, the Sega one was gory and featured sound bites from sort of both films, really.
Was that RoboCop on the PlayStation 2 the last RoboCop game they made? Has there been one?
I think aside from the mobile game from the remake, then.
But I mean, in terms of
I
this
believe
RoboCop,
so. Yeah,
the classic
cop.
there was one that I read about in Retro Gamer, which was which I don't think I mentioned in the last time we did this. I found out about another one, and I read about it. It looked really amazing, and it was apparently really good. It was either on the Amstrad or the Amiga or something like that, and the graphics were great, and you could drive essentially around Delta City. It was a little bit open worldy, but the graphics were a bit like that game Hard Driven that you did yesterday.
Hard Driving. Okay, so like polygony and.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a bit like super blocky, but when you got to say Ed209, he looked great, and he was moving really smooth, and it looked like a lot of fun. So that was one that I think people, like I say, really liked a lot. Just not many people played it because it was obviously on a machine that not many people liked. And the other one that we saw, we've talked about and we've played would be the Game Boy version, which was I think again just a port of the original NES. Quite a lot of them end up coming remakes or ports from the original.
So I played the Game Boy one when I didn't have a Game Boy growing up, but there were kids that would bring it in and have it in the playground. But I think the main takeaway from the Game Boy game is the music. Is very popular and has been used in the UK for adverts for Ariston, who did like used to make washing machines and stuff, and it was also used on like Charlie Brooker's list of 100 most influential video games of all time as well. So that's and it was a completely original score I think that was made, but it's highly regarded.
And I think the thing is the character lends himself massively to video games, but I think it's surprising really there hasn't been a a huge amount, and there's certainly not a standalone one where you go, like we talked about when we did Die Hard, and you go, Die Hard trilogy was exceptionally great, and talk about Resident Evil, and you go like, there's loads of Resident Evil games that are fantastic. It's more of a game than it is a film, the Resident Evil game. Whereas this, I think, it could have easily been a 50-50 split, but it's way more weighted towards the films than it is the games. I think it is anyway. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah. I'd like to see like a GTA style RoboCop game.
I mean, yeah. Good lord, how good would that be?
That'd be great. In maybe like set in Delta City or something.
Or old Detroit, either one, or both.
Well, that'd be like the new city, then there'd be the old one where you have to go and
book it. Let's make it.
do it.
Yeah, I mean they
know some guys.
Yeah, I know some guys. I did some guys.
You could go the route that Ghostbusters did a few years ago, where you're continuing the story but through a game.
Yeah,
sure.
And that would be great. If
Like, if it was set 30
sort
years.
of 20 years later, and RoboCop's like unthawed or
that was
let out of his box, and
that was a plan for a sequel, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Paul Verhoeven, where he was in a warehouse, and then someone
switching back on.
Yeah, some trouble came that only
Kane was back, and he'd somehow morphed with Clarence Boddicker and a ninja.
That'd be
cyborg.
the worst thing, wouldn't it? Putting Kane and Boddicker's brain into like Ed 209.
Oh my god! I mean, it writes itself, guys.
But yeah, some kind of GTA game where you're going around like cleaning the streets up.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Would be really
No,
good. And solving
story.
crimes and stuff, and like going back to the precinct and
it's basically
booking the guys.
It's basically Spider-Man, but obviously with RoboCop, right? Because you solve crimes, you do all that sort of stuff while also doing like action stuff. It would be good. That would be such a. I can't believe someone hasn't made it either, because I suppose to a certain degree you look at Spider-Man and that has nothing to do with the films, although the IP is still really relevant. I have no doubt, like a really, really well-made, great RoboCop GTA ripoff.
But you don't have to relate it to the films. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be a game of the first film.
Not at all. No.
So you don't need those characters.
you could
just
you
need
could
the
do it from the
RoboCop
ground
character.
up, couldn't you? You could do the first few missions. You are Murphy, and you get completely annihilated, and then rebuilt. And then you,
even if it was
and
like,
then like when you like, and that's the progression tree, is you solving crimes and getting more perks, and you going back to OCP and then going, well, I think we're ready. You're ready for this program.
You're ready for the jetpack.
Yeah,
I don't want the jetpack.
You're ready to face the happy samurai hero times.
Oh no.
But even it'd be cool if it was set 30 years in the future, where like the first level is like 30 years ago. There was a cop, Alex Murphy, and then you are like playing the first bit in the game.
Put the accent on properly. 30 years ago, I was a cop.
I don't think he'll be narrating it. That's what I wasn't going for.
Go for Peter. He would be doing it.
Frankly, I think you're slime.
Thank you, pal. I think you're slime. Cops don't like me. Sorry, we're doing it again.
yeah. Don't go down the rabbit hole.
It's very easy to go into quote mode with RoboCop. It's an incredibly quotable movie. Even the most random people in it are very quotable.
Yeah.
I'd buy that for $1.
So quotable. So many good lines in it.
Can you fly, Bobby?
Can you fly like it? I mean, that was the most random thing. Trying to come up with a weird movie based around that one character. It's like he wakes up with amnesia and it's just called Can You Fly, Bobby? And he wakes up with amnesia and he's just trying to put his life back together, and at the end he realises it's Clarence Boddicker who like chucked him out of a window, and they're like, oh, I don't know. It's like a complete drama. Set like in in suburban Detroit. Yeah, good.
Wakes up in a hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's wrap this up. Let's talk about the legacy of RoboCop. It's obviously still hugely popular, and a lot of people hold it very dearly and in very high regard. As quite rightly they should. It's a big film certainly from our childhood, but I imagine there are sort of fans who were adults at the time and new fans who are discovering it today and realising how good stuff was.
Hope they don't discover the wrong
2
one.
years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
and then watch the old one and go, oh man, this is shit. Because
So
it's like slow and
look at the shit effects.
CGI.
yeah. Why can't he run? Why can't he jump?
Where's all CGI?
Why is he hasn't got one human hand?
So yeah, we haven't really touched on the remake. We should probably just have a little chat
Mention.
about it. Right. So Have we all seen it? I have seen it.
I was bought it by our friend Matt Brooks as a joke, and that sort of sums it up, because obviously we joked that we'd never want to see it, and he bought it for me for my birthday, and I was like, I'm never going to watch this. And then I didn't ever watch it, and I fucked it off, and I watched it on TV, maybe Netflix, and I was
It's
just
been
like,
on Netflix.
it was like 15, 20 minutes in, and I was just like, I was willing to give you a chance. I was like talking to the TV at this point. I was willing to give you a chance, and you blew it.
Yeah, I only got about 30 minutes in as well.
It's just the thing is, like, for all of the, sitting here and saying, oh, he looks stupid in his new armor and blah blah blah. It's just not a good film. It's not well paced.
Yeah.
It's not well acted.
It feels like a missed opportunity, because I'd never say it's a film that needs remaking or even needs retelling, but you could do something interesting with it, and it just doesn't.
But it's just like the way they killed Murphy. Just a car explosion. He doesn't even die.
Yeah, I know.
He just gets his leg blown off,
yeah.
And then it's like so impersonal. Like the great thing about the first one is it's like those 5-6 guys are literally crucifying him, and then giving him a reason to then go and get revenge.
And he literally dies.
And he literally gets killed, and that experience is embedded into his soul, which then comes out later and gives him the drive to go in.
Well, yeah, but that is the whole thing. He has the nightmares, which he goes to solve
Triggers
his own murder.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely none of that in this one. It's like just a
murdered,
bunch of
he
corrupt
was never murdered.
cops
He knows
that
who he is the whole time.
grasped on, and I can't even remember if there's any sort of
There's no bad guy, is
back
there?
to that. Not
Apart from
really.
Michael Keaton, but he's not bad.
It's got a ridiculous cast as well. It's got like Samuel Jackson, Michael Keaton, Gary Oldman. It's like, the fuck are you guys all doing this?
The guy from Watchmen.
Yeah, Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah.
He's like, kind of like a weird, like, little,
He's like an
guy.
armourer.
Yeah,
He's like the bloke with all the weapons and stuff, and
he's trying to prove that somehow his mechanized machines are better than RoboCop. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, but then that's the whole thing, is that then like they put him in like the test simulator, and he's shooting all these robots with all this really inappropriate like music and stuff, and Gary Oldman's saying, oh, it's not him, he thinks he's doing it, but it's his computer program. And it's like, but then surely aren't you proving
He's the guy right.
him right if the machines are better? I think, but then his argument is, oh, but it's the humanized factor of it's a human behind there who can make those
But
moral
why
judgments.
didn't they just do what they did in RoboCop 1, where they just put his face over some metal?
Yeah.
Not actually make a human.
That's the one I'm always pimping out the second one. That's one of the best bits of the second one is when he sees his wife and he's had that conversation about whatever. What do you think you can? The fucking slimy guy from OCP says, "What do you think you can give to her?" Do you know what I mean? Like, and then he sees her in the thing, and it's like they made this to honor him. It's a really great line, and like that kind of kills the relation. I don't know you, and like spins and walks off. But it's like that's what it should be. Like those sort of ideas within the film. None of that. None of the stuff from the first one. None of the stuff from the second one is in the remake. He's just a dude. Like he's not broken as a. He's never a machine. That's kind of the problem. He's always a human dressed as a machine. Yeah. He's never a machine. Whereas in RoboCop, he's a machine for the majority of it, and he gains his humanity back. He never loses it.
But that's the thing. You see
remake.
the flashbacks of him first person interacting with his family, and he seems like well loved. His son loves him and looks up to him. His wife adores him and stuff like that.
TJ Laser.
TJ Hooker.
TJ Hooker.
You'd be like William Shatner. But in the remake, you see quite a lot of him with his family,
and his wife's quite involved in the film as well.
And he's
and
even in those bits, he's still quite like robotic and stuff. And whether that's the acting or directing,
I mean, it's Joel Kinnaman, so it's definitely the acting.
One of the good things about the original RoboCop I like about those flashbacks, it's not like outside of Peter Weller's brain. Like it's all point of view, and so you are him, and like his wife's coming up to him, and then he's looking at the thing. Is it like that in the remake? I didn't get to the point where he did flashbacks.
No, they don't do the flashbacks because you see quite a lot of him with his family, because he gets murdered at home, doesn't he?
Sure, yeah.
And then of course there's the main rub you have with this film, which is the funniest of all the criticisms, and that is, what's the one thing RoboCop does not do?
Have meetings. Does his paperwork.
He is not. He should not be. He should not be.
Doesn't go into the police chief's office and get a shakedown for doing something bad.
I told you about your methods, RoboCop. You don't do things by the book. If anything, he does things completely by the book.
He's not fucking Callahan from Dirty Harry. He's just like, you've got a one-way ticket to Palookaville.
He's like Riggs and Murtaugh.
You destroyed a whole city block again.
Just sits there. Sorry, boss. Will not happen again.
Surely he's doing.
I'll do better.
And surely, even going back to the old one, surely he's doing all this paperwork
in his head.
in his head.
He sends an email.
Instant.
But
he does seem to be a bit of a mischief maker, even in the first one, because he goes into that shop, he solves that robbery, just leaves the bloke knocked out in the fridge.
Yeah, he's just going to call the officers just to come and get it.
Yeah.
RoboCop's not going to sit there. Let me take your statement.
He shoots that guy in the dick and just goes, yeah, leave him.
No, when she goes to thank you. Well, you have had a trauma. I will call a counselling for you. It's like, oh my god. I mean, that would be amazing. Well, look, that's the joke.
I mean,
he's got the second one, isn't it? When he's going around to schools and stuff.
Yeah.
And fuck you, Paganek. It's like, now, bad words make for bad feelings.
But then, of course, the remake being made spawned its own fan remake as well. The Our RoboCop remake, which had each scene done by a separate team of filmmakers.
Mainly YouTube people,
yeah.
Well, there was proper professional ones, and then there was just
it's people like us in the front room with the tinfoil.
Some really gash ones. Although we could have broken out your stag do costume again. Which is something we didn't mention.
The day that RoboCop went to Reading, here in the UK, the place that needs policing
it does, that's the
by a cyborg.
Yeah, and people
the stormtrooper.
Yeah, someone called him a stormtrooper. No, I am RoboCop. Oh my god! On the dance floor,
stay out of trouble.
Doing the robot
continuously, and cracking some one-liners around Reading. That was a good weekend.
Good times. So. Big thumbs up to RoboCop. The films more so than the games, although I think some of the games do have we do have fond memories of.
A special place in the heart, especially for the first one, the arcade and NES.
And
for me, a special space on the shelf.
Yeah, and for something I didn't touch on which I'll quickly mention now is the comics of RoboCop and Terminator are amazing. If anyone gets a chance to read them, it's there's a bit where they end up on I swear this is true, something along these lines. RoboCop, I wish I could remember this because it would not be so incoherently nonsense. But basically they it's in the Terminator world, but RoboCop is there and someone has to turn him on again. They find him in the future and he goes back through time or something. And essentially they end up on a carrier and he gets into a room.
I know what you're talking about because
we talked about before.
Mr. Sunday Movies did a breakdown of it, and it's well worth watching. I'll put a link in the description. But it turns out that RoboCop, they describe it the best. They say it's RoboCop writing his own fan fiction.
Yeah,
and he goes and becomes the savior of because John Connor gets full on murdered or something.
Yeah, but that's it. That's what they end up in a room and then to the only way forward is to kill everyone, and he fucking kills everyone in this room with acid, and I think it kills Connor, the T-1000, the Terminator, everyone, and all their skin melts off and stuff. I'm sure that's what happens.
Are they the ones written by Frank Miller? Because
maybe
he did, because he was going to make RoboCop 2.
Well, he did write it, but I know it was drastically changed from what his original version was, and his original scripts now have been produced into a comic, and it is sort of vastly different. But he wrote that second film. He still got the writing credit for that, didn't he?
Yes. We should try and find out, because that was some incoherent nonsense what I just said. We should definitely find out.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that that exceptional YouTube video. It's very funny and well worth a watch, and we could even watch it after this, chaps.
I haven't seen that, so I would like to see that.
Yes, well, we shall. But yeah, RoboCop is terrific, and I'm sure will endure for many more years to come. And be the source of inspiration to many a filmmaker as well.
Yeah. Still hasn't been another film to knock it off my top spot of my favourite film of all time. So.
Hopefully they won't.
There you are, the gauntlet's down. Any filmmakers listening?
Yeah, I honestly I don't think like modern films will ever knock off films that we have loved from the past. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something else associated with not just about the movie. It's about growing up.
Yeah, it's that element of nostalgia and stuff, and it's not necessarily just about how exceptionally well made the film is. It's the feelings it emotes in yourself about.
Do films like on my list is also like Total Recall and stuff like that, because
I'm very fond of Total Recall as well.
Again, it's in that same world and feeling of what RoboCop is. It's like an extension of that world. Obviously, it's Verhoeven, but it's the same sort of satire. Felt very much in the same.
They could easily be in the same universe.
Sure.
Maybe we should make that happen, guys.
I'm sure that's someone revving their engine outside my house.
It's like a fucking Briggs and Stratton lawnmower.
There you go, he's gone. It's like a scooter,
like a
motorbike.
Yeah.
It's
a lawnmower.
So I will close the case then on RoboCop. Rich, Ben, thank you very much. Boys, thank you very much for joining me and us rediscussing something which I'm sure we could talk about for much longer, and I'm sure we'll talk about again in the future. So that just leaves me to say thank you to you very much for listening. If you do want to give us a follow on the old Twitter or Instagram, it's Ain't No James. But you can also find that on Ain't No Game, and there's also a Facebook group, facebook.com/Ain't No Game. If you want to leave us a comment or a like, that would be great. And if you have any film/game crossover media you'd like to hear discussed in the future, we'll happily take a look. And if there's anything wrong we've said about the RoboCop films or games, feel free to correct us. We don't really care, because this is all purely about what we like and what we love and how
if you
it
think
makes us
RoboCop
feel.
3 is the best.
Is the best.
If you think, that's
wrong.
absolutely
we
fine.
will fight you.
It's absolutely fine for you to think that, but it is incorrect.
I'll hunt you down.
No, you like what you like, and if you like RoboCop 3,
you're scum.
So that leaves me to say, chaps, thank you very much again. Thank you to you for listening, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you for your cooperation.
I don't get it.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back soon with more film and video game crossover based chat in the future. Thanks very much. Toodle pip. Bye.
Bye.